Hey guys, how's it going? It's your boy M.K.S here, and welcome to part two of Happy Republic Day. I keep getting it mixed up, but Happy Republic Day for India and all Indians all around the world, and those who love India. As many people as possible who love India, check out these videos from India and from around the world, um, e.g. those from the diaspora and that kind of thing, for instance. And I can't remember what else I was going to say, but yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. These are ideas or points number 11 to 20. I hope you'll share these videos with anyone who is interested in India and learning about India, and those who love India. Again, those from the diaspora, those from India themselves, and that kind of thing. I'm sure there's something else I was going to say, but I literally can't remember. So anyway, I might remember it later and include it later. But I hope you enjoy it, as I say. And here goes. So. I think I was going to mention about I don't know a huge amount about the difference between Republic Day, India's Republic Day, and India's Independence Day. I think the difference is Republic Day is the founding of the Constitution, and Independence Day for India is the actual independence that India got, something like that. But if anyone knows any information or can explain it better, please do, as ever, please post in the comments. On that note, I would love for India to form good relations with as many parts of the world as possible. One of the nations, if not the only nation that has been invited this year to the Republic Day, is France, and to India's Republic Day. And I think in the past Egypt was invited, but I'd love for India to invite as many, certainly delegates, and as many people as possible, especially politicians, delegates, and whatnot, presidents, what's the word? Not doing very well. I know prime ministers. That's what I'm looking for. Presidents, prime ministers, and whatnot from all over the world, especially from republics and that kind of thing, to come to India, and as many people as they can fit in. I suppose. I guess there's only so much space and time or whatever, so as many as they can fit into the schedule and the space that they have. Anyway, here goes. So number 11. I would love to look into and discuss with people what India could change to improve, basically. So especially in particular for Indians themselves, I'd love to read from Indians, like what do they think could improve their country, what nation or whatever you want to call it, like for instance how it could unite together more, human rights that it could have, less rules, or what freedoms they think they should have, or maybe even what rules they think could keep people safer. Sometimes the rules are necessary, unfortunately, of course, but I suppose and that kind of thing, but anything that they think could improve their nation or country, whichever term you prefer, basically to improve India. And also people from overseas as well, like what would make you want to visit India, and what do you basically think could improve India and its economy and its human rights, its quality of life as well, not just financially, but just generally as well, because I suppose they do say money isn't everything apparently. But on a serious note, what could they improve to bring in investors? I'd love to perhaps read from investors. It'd be interesting to see what investors could say, like what could improve the nation and make it more business friendly and investment friendly, especially from those from overseas and that kind of thing. How could they keep more money in the nation? How could they stop a brain drain from leaving? How could they support their medical industry, education in STEM or whatever, and that kind of thing? And on that note, I'd also love to support inventors, ideas people, entrepreneurs, startups, and businesses from the smallest to the biggest, and that kind of thing. Number 12, I forgot to say in part one in the intro about how I would love to remake or recreate the and reset up the East India Company, but this time for the benefit of India. I probably talked about it about a year or so ago, or in the past at some point. I don't know how long ago, to be honest, but it was a while back. I'm pretty sure I haven't mentioned it for a long time. Normally for January and other months, January, February, and March, and some other months of the year, I wish to focus on empowering people from across Africa, and I wish to focus on Asia only in April. Only focus on Asia and Asian empowerment, including nations also like India, in April, May, and June, and also part of August. But because it's Republic Day. I thought I'd make an exception today, but also I thought the company could have many nicknames. So this time it could be recreated, remade, recreated, or however you want to put it, for basically reset up for the benefit this time of India, which I think would be quite a just thing. And it could be, for instance, it could help Indian industries, could be used to help Indian industries, to bring Indians together, even mixed part Indians all around the world, anyone with Indian blood to come together and support Indian industries and help them sell their items, coming in alliterations, as I said in part one. And it could have many different nicknames like the Jai Hind Co., the Bharat Co., the India Company, the Indian Items Company, the Help to Support Indian Items Company, the Help to Support Indian Entrepreneurs Company, all sorts of different nicknames. And I'd love to read from and hear from people on that note again on what they think the best nicknames could be. And maybe in part three I'll ask people what in the live chat. I'll put it on the Q&A or the questions or whatever. Well, the Q&A, I think. But also in this video as well, in the comment section, maybe people could vote on, or at least post up what you think the best nickname would be for a recreation, a remaking and the recreation of the East India Company. But this time to promote Indian industry, made in India, and things like make it in India and things like that. Anyway, moving on, number 13, as I mentioned in part one, from a selfish point of view, I would love to encourage India to invest in Italian football, especially in Inter, given the alliterations, if they have had a sovereign wealth fund. And so as I say, India and Indonesia's sovereign wealth fund, and possibly Malaysia's as well, to invest in Inter Milan, or maybe Malaysia could be investing in, or could invest into Monza and stroke or AC Milan perhaps, because of the alliterations, like it begins with them. If India and Indonesia invest in Inter Milan together, maybe Malaysia could invest in one of those other clubs, again given the alliterations. But I mentioned that in point number 13 as it's quite a selfish point of view. And also I think I forgot to mention, well no I forgot to mention, I think I was going to include it in point number 6. I could have also included that in point number 1 as well, like, because it's selfish, like looking after number 1. It's one of my selfish ideas, so I normally talk about Italian football either in point number 1 or point number 6 due to my patterns. But Tata, again, I know I've mentioned this before, but I'd love for Tata to invest in Torino, again, given the alliterations, and Reliance Industries to invest in Roma, and they could have like exchanges like football academies and things like that for Roma and Inter, respectively in this case, and hopefully all Italian teams as well as Celtic, to have academies and sports clubs in India as well. So, but also in return, Italians could perhaps help to benefit India's economy and support buy from India and all that kind of thing in return for India supporting Italian football. So it's some sort of partnership that they would have to benefit Italian football and maybe Indian football as well to an extent, but India more economically as well. But maybe they could have a partnership where they sort of train together as well. So hopefully that'll benefit both nations' football development as well. And also for point number 13, I thought of like once again any negatives about India that could be improved, and things that people might say that they dislike about India, although I know I'm mainly trying to focus on the positives, but one or two points I thought of some negatives. Number 14, I hope that India will work to solve problems, improve their security, keep people safer, things like, as I mentioned in part 1, like Anglo-Indians and other Eurasians, my fellow Eurasians generally, and even Blasians and other mixed race groups could look at how to keep Indian citizens safe, and I hope that India will sign up to agreements where they don't invade any nations. I don't think India's ever invaded any nation in its history, and I hope they stick to that and only have a military of defense that only protects Indians if they are attacked. And hopefully, again, my fellow Eurasians will help them to keep their citizens as safe as possible. So all law-abiding citizens will be kept hopefully as safe as possible. Hopefully they can prevent invasions and other threats like terrorism, prevent bombs and things like that, and also look at working together on medical aid, Indian scientists working together, and things like that. So working together on medical aid, cures for diseases, even preventions of diseases, and all sorts of things like that. Obviously, we saw COVID. I'm sure most people know COVID hit India quite badly. So But even if it didn't, I still think it would be good to look at how to solve problems or even prevent problems from happening in the first place. One thing I often think of with Asian and African nations, so I know I do waffle, this video is going a bit longer than planned, a fair bit longer than planned, but one of the things I think of is if they learn about learning disabilities like dyslexia, and how I mentioned that because dyslexics can be good at solving problems. I could have mentioned in point number 11 about changing perceptions of things like dyslexia and ADHD and things like that. But on the subject of going over the time that I planned, moving on to number 15, I'd say solving all sorts of problems basically. But moving on to number 15, my dreams for India would be for India to achieve all these things, to invest in Italian football, to help Italian football to become as good as possible, as well as their own football teams, to develop football and sport generally in India, as well, and also to hopefully their cricket team will benefit. Although I'm not too keen on cricket, but for India's sake, I hope their cricket and hockey teams will do well. Although I only really like football, and also to invest in Celtic. But also from their own point of view, I hope that India will become as wealthy as possible and become a 5 or even 10, or even 15 or 20 or even $30 trillion or pound even economy as soon as possible and for as long as possible, and do as well as it can do financially, and look at all the ways that it can benefit. Number 16, on that note, I hope there'll be committees and think tanks talking about how to attract investment, how to keep investment in the country, in the nation, and how to basically develop the economy and improve the quality of life, keep the citizens safe, tackle diseases, illnesses and things like that, and all the ways that could benefit India as much as possible. Number 17, I hope to celebrate Indian industry, as I say, Indian projects and things like imagination, poetry, art, writing, architecture, design, and all sorts of things that are made in India, encourage make in India and things like that. And again, I hope they'll recreate the East India Company, but this time for their benefit, which I think would be quite just, making up for history and things like that. And on the subject of dyslexia, which I just mentioned, Mr. Modi, the Prime Minister of India, I'm not really a Modi fan or against Modi. I really just support the country, the nation, because it was invaded and it had a lot of money looted from the nation. So I just want to do whatever's best for the nation, whoever the Prime Minister or President is, pretty much, to make up for that history, and also to thank them, which I hope to come to, for supporting Anglo-Indians historically. And there are a few things that Modi did that I disagree with. One of the things, he made a joke about dyslexia, which you can read about online. I'm not going to go into too much detail in this video. Again, I'm going over the time planned, which I do like to keep them down to 10 minutes. But I was hoping that Indians will learn about dyslexia and the strengths of dyslexia and the positives of dyslexia and ADHD and related conditions. So they'll see we do have strengths, even when we're not the best academically or at following instructions, reading and writing and things like that. But and that kind of thing, we're not good at those sorts of things, but we are good at using our imagination, coming up with innovative ideas, thinking outside the box and things like that. So I think it's probably even better to invest in dyslexics than it is to invest in an academic person who's good at following instructions, because we will be the ones that come up with new and innovative ideas. So I hope people from India and across Asia, on that note, will find out, and also Africa, find out about those sorts of strengths. And yeah, it'd be great to see if India, maybe, I wonder if India and countries like that, nations like that, if they invested in dyslexics and people with ADHD, could they grow their economies even quicker and become that $5 to $10 trillion economy that they dream to be, even quicker than planned, and do even better than planned, just generally. Moving on, I say, 18, I hope that people share positive things about India mainly, and maybe people who have visited the nation or people who love the nation could talk about what they love about India. And again, in the comment section, I hope people mainly post up positive comments about India, and that kind of thing. And moving on, number 19, normally when it comes to software development, I love to support African nations, but I'm going to mention, because it's Republic Day in India, I hope that they will support their own software development and IIT, the Indian Institute of Tech. But I also hope that they will transport those skills, export those skills, shall we say, to African nations, possibly in return for trade deals. And again, another thing I mentioned a few times in the past, a while back, but it'd be good to see India having good trade relations with African nations and helping them in tech and things like that, or in STEM generally, including obviously software development. But all areas of STEM, maybe they could work together on research and development and all sorts of things like that. And number 20, again, one thing I'm not too keen on in Asian culture is like having to respect your elders. It's not something I'm a big fan of as a rebel, even though I'm quite old myself now, at 41. Probably shouldn't give my age away. But I'd love people to know I'd love for people to let me know what they think my mental age seems like and how old you think I look. I'll probably have to brace myself for that one, but for those ones. But yeah, that's one of the things I disagree with. I think we should empower the youth, and I suppose it does depend on what respect means. Like, I think people say respect, but it depends how you define respect. But yeah, I think it'd be cool to empower, well, people of all ages, really. But anyway, I'm going to stop waffling, and as ever, I'd love to know what you think, and I hope people who love India all around the world will check out these videos and give me some likes. And if I manage to monetize my videos, in this case, I would love to donate to India as much as I could to support their projects. And I'm not